Good day, dental professionals. Welcome to the Dental Flow podcast. We are dentistry's go-to resource for insights into the business side of dentistry. Your host, Benjamin Suggs, will be helping you navigate through the currents of the ever-changing dental waters. This podcast is packed with innovative practice growth strategies, actionable insights, and expert advice, all tailored to help you elevate your dental practice to the next level. If you're ready to dive in, so are we. Let's get into the flow.
Hello, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about something very important for dental practices, and that is how to create a great dental logo and visual identity for your practice. So as you know, when you're starting a practice or in many cases rebranding a practice, your visual brand is extremely important. So we're going to break down the four main pieces of that. So that is your logo. That is the icon, the logo that appears on your web page and your business cards and everywhere else, even on the front of the practice. We're going to talk about the color palette. We're going to talk about the fonts, and we're going to talk about overall imagery that are used in your marketing. So let's start with the most important thing, the logo. So everybody who has started a dental practice or run a dental practice knows that a logo is key. So the logo is the visual representation of your practice, the name, the brand, and it's going to show up everywhere. Like I mentioned, website, billboard, business cards, QR codes, handouts, literally on the front of your door, above the door and the sign, sometimes on the monument sign out front. So it's going to be everywhere. So it's important that you really get to something that you really, really like. Also important is that the target market you're going for also understands it. So the biggest things when it comes to a logo is it's a lot of personal preference, to be totally honest. The biggest things as a marketing company that we ask our clients to do is really focus on making sure that when somebody sees your logo, they quickly understand what you do. So what I mean by that is we've engaged with a new client, new dentist, and they've sent us their logo. And when you look at it, it's this very ornate, great, crazy design that has their name in very large font. And then underneath that in tiny, tiny font, it says dentistry or dental practice. So what we always tell people is imagine the sign above your front door and imagine you have it you pay for a beautiful lit up, amazing sign, and it's lit up at night and people are driving by it. If they look at your logo, will they quickly know what it is you do within a split second? So they have to be able to quickly tell what it is you do, and the wording, the font in there is going to be critically important for that. As far as the iconography, I'm not terrible with that word. I'm not going to say iconography, the icon, let's say. What you do there is really up to you. So I will tell you, as my dental marketing agency, we used to do logo design as part of our service, and we quit doing it like probably 5 or 6 years ago now. The reason we quit doing it was, quite honestly, there's only so many ways that we can take a logo for a dentist and try to put a tooth in it and make it not look like a tooth. Nobody wants a campy, corny cartoon tooth in their logo, so we would always try to make it so it was very nice looking, flowing, a tooth, but you don't really know it's a tooth, and you kind of know it's a tooth. And honestly, it just kind of got frustrating where we kind of reached our mental capacity of how many different ways we could do that. So we shut down our logo design, and we started referring out to another company that really does a good job of leveraging tens of 60 or so different designers and their creative juices to come up with logo design. So as you develop your logo, make it something that you really like. Because unfortunately, that's the most important person is you. The people have to like it, but you really have to like it because you're going to look at it every day for the next 20, 50, whatever years. So make sure you like it. And make sure that it does quickly define exactly what it is you do. And that is that you are a dentist. If you want to be specifically cosmetic dentist, make sure it says that. Implant dentist, make sure it says that. Something we see a lot is you'll have a general dentistry practice that does implants, and they'll put an implant, a screw in their logo, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me because unless you really are going to be focusing on implant dentistry specifically and more than anything else, you really shouldn't have that screw in your logo. Also, the concept, the thought of having a screw into your jaw is not a pleasant thing. So that's probably going to turn some people off right away when they see that screw in your logo. Okay, so that's the logo. The color palette, very important. You want to pick colors, again, that you like more than anything. If you don't like the colors, then you're never going to like your own branding. So pick something you like, but try to go as neutral as possible. Think about when you walk in, if you're buying a house and you're touring homes that you want to buy, and you walk into a house that has a very loud, very obnoxious color that the previous owner loved, but you don't like it. Immediately, what does it do? Ugh, I don't like that color. It's the first thing people say when they walk into a home. I don't like that color. Now, you could always paint over it, but for your branding, it's not that easy to paint over it. So make sure you pick something that's a little bit neutral, not too loud, not too crazy. I always tell our clients to stay away from really like bright red or garnet red, because that evokes the thought of blood in people. And the last thing we want people to think about is blood if they're going to be picking a dental practice, especially picking yours. So that's two things, the color palette and the logo. The third one is the fonts. So fonts are the trickiest one, honestly, because it is really 100% your preference. But if you look at fonts, there certainly is always going to be fonts that make you look more modern and other fonts that make you look more archaic. Maybe that's not the right word, but make you look a little bit more traditional, older fashioned, that type of thing. There's also a lot of fonts that are very childlike, which if you're a general family practice, you should avoid that. If you're a pediatric practice, go for it, because that's great. But even on pediatric websites, sometimes when we look at them, they're almost too childlike, because it's almost like they forgot that, yes, children are their patients, but the adults are the ones making those decisions. So sometimes adults don't want to see such a childlike website when they're trying to make a medical decision. So when you're picking fonts, you want to have the balance between that modern aesthetic and traditional aesthetic, and pick something that you like, but also please pick something that is very, very readable and legible, because we see some crazy fonts on websites that are really hard to read, and it's making people's experience on the website poor, because they're really struggling to read the crazy font that dentist chose to use for their branding. Now, we always try to use whatever font is used in the logo. We try to use that on the website for headers and things like that. We try to keep that consistency going through as much as possible, but sometimes we just can't do it because maybe the font in the logo was some crazy, cursive font or something that just doesn't show up or read well on a website. So choose a font, hopefully something that's really grounded in more basic type of thing that people will easily be able to read and recognize. Lastly is imagery. This is more important than people realize. So when we work with a dental client, one of the first things we do is we look at the demographics in their area. So if the demographics are X% Caucasian, white, X% African-American, X% Indian, X% Asian, whatever, Latino, we try to represent that in the photos and the imagery that we're using on the website. So whether it's stock photos, which unfortunately, I prefer nobody use stock photos, but we have to a lot of the time because we don't have real photos. But if you're going to use stock photos, try to make them representative of the marketplace that you're operating in. Also think about, the type of people in your photos. So if you are a family dentist, obviously you want to show pictures of families. But if you're just a general dentist and you don't really want to see kids, you probably don't need a lot of pictures of families on there. You want pictures of adults, young adults, old adults. If you're trying to sell implants, you want to find people in that range of age where implants are going to be necessary. So obviously a lot of people in their 20s don't need implants. Teenagers don't need implants. One of the important things I think with imagery, and this is a little bit off topic, but I think it's important, is, I hate when we show pictures of people with metal utensils. They're sitting in a dental chair and they have metal utensils in their mouth. Can't stand that. That is not attractive to a potential patient to imagine going to your practice and having metal shoved in their mouth. what we want to show is people happy. Think about more the end result of dentistry, not the process. So it's not the process of sitting in a chair and having a pix in your mouth. It's the end result of a beautiful, happy, healthy smile as you walk out the door. So that's the type of imagery you want to try and use in your practice, and make sure you take that imagery that's from your brand kit and flow it through everything, your website, your billboards, your magazine ads, whatever it is you're doing. Try to keep everything consistent. And that's the last point I want to leave you with is consistency, consistency, consistency. The more consistent you are, the more memorable your branding will be as people see it. They'll recognize it, they'll recognize you, and they'll start to associate that branding, that feel with your practice, and they'll recognize it. That's all I got today. Hopefully that was helpful. If you need any help with this type of stuff, we're always here available. Just give us a call.
Thank you for joining us for this Dental Flow podcast episode. If you enjoyed today's discussion and wish to stay updated on future episodes, please like, subscribe, and share the podcast with colleagues and friends. For more insights and discussions on dental marketing, we encourage you to continue riding the Dental Flow wave and tune into the next episode. Keep on smiling, learning, and flowing with the Dental Flow podcast.